Before Several standard gradient designs come with Photoshop, and we can use any of these designs or even edit them for a personal look. But we can also create our very own custom gradients. Let's click the eye next to the astro layer to hide it. Then click the eye next to the butterfly layer to hide it as well. Then scroll down the Layers palette and make sure that Background is highlighted. Now select the Gradient tool. It's the third tool from the bottom on the right side of the toolbar. If we hold down the left mouse button on the Gradient tool, we see a flyout appear. This is new for Photoshop. Now we can create angular, reflected, and diamond gradients as well as linear and radial gradients. Let's select the Diamond Gradient tool from the flyout. To use one of Photoshop's standard gradients or create a custom gradient of our own, we'll need to use the Options palette. Notice the current gradient is set at foreground to background. Let's click the drop-down arrow to view the list of Photoshop's present gradients. We see there are many gradients to choose from. Let's select Transparent Rainbow and see a preview at the bottom of the Options palette. To apply this gradient, we click where we want the center point, then hold down the mouse button and drag to the top of the image. We release the mouse and see the gradient. Before we create our own gradient, let's delete the current gradient by clicking on the Edit menu, then selecting Undo Gradient. Now let's create our own gradient. Click the Edit button in the Options palette and see the Gradient Editor dialog box. We can see the current gradient, create a new gradient, rename, remove, duplicate, and add or save a gradient. Click the New button and the New Gradient dialog box appears. We'll name this gradient Cosmic. Then click OK. We are taken back to the Gradient Editor where we start with a blank gradient. To add some color, select the color marker on the left. Then click the color swatch. When we click the color swatch, the color picker dialog box appears. We can adjust the hue by dragging the slider up or down the spectrum. If we need to use an exact color from a color model, such as Pantone or True Match, we can select the custom button. We'll select light blue and click OK. Next, we'll click the color marker on the right. Click the color swatch to change its color and select light green from the color picker and click OK. To create a gradient with more than just two colors, we click between the two color markers and we see a new color marker. This marker is the same color as the marker we just edited because this is the color which was displayed in the color swatch. Let's click the swatch to edit the color. We'll change the hue to red. Then select a deeper shade of red and click OK. Another convenient feature is the transparency option. This option allows us to make portions of the gradient transparent. If the gradient between the colors is too soft, we can adjust the midpoint and the order in which the colors appear in the gradient. The midpoint is the small diamond, which appears above the preview. Let's adjust the midpoint between blue and red. We click the diamond, then hold down the left mouse button and drag the diamond closer to the red marker. Notice how the gradient changes. Let's rearrange the order of the colors. To do this, click the blue marker. Hold down the left mouse button and drag the marker just to the right of the red marker. Next, we'll click and drag the red marker all the way to the left. and the order of the colors is changed. We mentioned the transparency option earlier. To view the transparency setting for this gradient, we click the radio button next to transparency. We see the bar is now completely black. Photoshop measures transparency in grayscale. Pure black is completely opaque and is not transparent, whereas white is completely transparent, and any of the shades of gray in between are varying degrees of transparency. Currently the gradient is not transparent. Select the marker on the right. Then in the opacity dialog box, enter 0. The marker is now white. Also notice the changes in the preview at the bottom of the dialog box. We can adjust the midpoint the same as before. The opacity markers are adjustable as well. We are satisfied with this gradient, so we click OK.